Hey guys, what's up? Excoundrel here, and today we're going to be looking at a ranked game of Celeste, talking about build paths and playstyles on 3.10. It hasn't changed too much. She is still really strong, so I just want to make sure that we cover that as much as possible. I was going to do a Rhyme video. Unfortunately, the Rhyme game that I had, which went really well by the way, 9, 2, and 14, I did not record it. So I'll have to do another one, try and get another good Rhyme game to show you how I play him. But some basic tips on Rhyme: rush journey boots. It will really help you out in 5v5. Now, I'm not going to make you wait until the end of the video for the giveaway details. I'm giving away an Honor Play 64GB phone, 4GB of RAM in Midnight Black, completely new, boxed and unopened. I will be shipping it worldwide, and the giveaway ends on the 9th of February this year. So I believe around 13 days or so, something like that anyway. So not long until the giveaway ends for you guys to get your entry in. It will be a Gleam giveaway. I know a lot of people don't like that, but Gleam have put in a lot of methods to help prevent botting. So I'll be a Gleam giveaway. I'll be doing several entries. You've got several chances to win. You can increase those chances by following my Twitter, retweeting the tweet, following Facebook, following Instagram, blah, 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 blah. And those will all increase your chances to get the phone. I will put the link in the top comment in the description, and it's also on my Twitter. So you'll be able to access my Twitter through the Gleam giveaway, but if you want to see it on Twitter, you can also go to my Twitter page and have a look. All of which, if you want to create a new account on Twitter to follow and also increase your chances, that's perfectly fine. But yeah, I'll be doing the giveaway, and it'll be ending on the 9th of February. Now, I will be giving it via tracked worldwide delivery. Once it leaves my country, it will kind of be on you with the tracking number to see exactly where it has ended up. Once it comes into the hands of the mail company within your country, that is on you to sort of follow it up. I won't be able to follow it up once it gets to your country if you are not inside the UK. Right, let's talk about this game in general then, because obviously I'm playing Celeste here. Now, I actually have got one major weakness with Celeste, and it's my very, very early laning phase. I'm pretty bad at CSing, and I don't utilize my heliogenesis properly enough. I always think it's on a lower cooldown than it is at the early levels, so I do struggle to take minions. So you will notice me missing a lot of CS, and again, it's just something I'm very aware of. I'm not the best Celeste player in the early laning phase. Also, I'm versus a Scarf. Now, Scarf is a pretty solid counter to Celeste in the current meta. He's got a very long range, outranges Celeste's heliogenesis by almost double, and actually, it's a very, very difficult laning phase to play into. Now, Lorelei can help sort of alleviate a little bit of this. She's got a high range basic attack herself. We can pressure out the Finn as much as possible, but Finn and Scarf can be quite a nuisance for a Celeste in the early laning phase, especially when your heliogenesis is on such a low range before you overdrive it. So the main point for me at this stage is just trying to clear the waves as much as possible, let it push in towards me in the lane, and just try and survive. I'm not looking to kill if I can help it, although I did pick up the first blood. Even though I died, actually getting first blood was pretty much worth it in that instance. But overall, I'm just looking to farm up and survive as long as possible. Once I hit level 8, I'll be able to be much more competitive in this lane and competitive in the game overall. So the majority of what I want to do here is I want to get a high volume of experience and as much gold as I physically can. Now, I would have got much more gold if I wasn't so bad at farming, but like I said, I have some issues with farming on Celeste in the early game, especially when I start Energy Battery. In fact, one of the things that I'm going to change after this video is I'm probably going to start double Crystal Bit instead of going for the Energy Battery, because although the Energy Battery is great, they actually reduced overall energy costs in the early game anyway, and so you don't need it as much. So what you'll notice here is that I do die to Scarf in the laning phase. That is the last time I think that I died to Scarf in this game. I just play a little bit more safe, and now that I pick up my Eclipse Prism and Heavy Prism, I have enough CP to be able to farm more efficiently and clear waves more efficiently. You will notice that I probably could have used my boots to escape there. You would be absolutely right. Probably should have done. So one thing that's something that I want to give a tip on Celeste, especially sort of earlier on in the game, is utilize your basic attack as much as possible. You can put pressure on someone like a Finn or a melee captain just by basic attacking them. It scales off your CP, and the more CP you get, the more damaging that basic attack becomes. So don't forget to don't neglect your basic attack. It's actually a really, really powerful tool in harassing, and can do almost as much damage as a heliogenesis in the early game. You can see that I'm doing 145 per basic attack with just the CP that I've got. And my heliogenesis really doesn't do that much more than it, if more than it at all. can't quite catch the figures. It might even be 120 or so. So what I'm doing here is, although I know they're fighting for the CP buff, I want to try and deny as much farm from Scarf as possible. So getting it up towards the turret forces him to make a decision between staying with my team and trying to fight, or going up towards the lane to farm as much as he could. He then chose the lane because he didn't want to get involved in that fight, and to be honest, that fight was pretty much over anyway. But I did force him to lose a little bit of experience there and a little bit of gold income. I don't think I would have changed the tide of that fight at this point in the game. Taka is pretty slippery, and I'm not yet level 8, so I would have put myself in a pretty precarious range to get involved in the team fight. So I thought the decision that I made there, just to put pressure on the Scarf, was good. And also you can see there he took a lot of damage from the minions beforehand. He took a lot of damage from myself getting a couple of Heliogenesis down on him. So Rhyme was able to run into the lane, get the kill there. And you can see actually how powerful Rhyme can be, especially when you rush those journey boots early on. Just run in, automatic B. That means you're going to get full impact A down on whoever you choose. It's a really, really powerful combo that actually requires an early reflex block to counter. And not a lot of people are going early reflex block as CP carries right now. So after that rocky early laning phase, you can see that we have, it's kind of just brought things a little bit level again. We've brought things a little bit level, and our farm is picked up just a little bit, and overall we are in a pretty solid space. So I'm currently 2v1 in this lane. Kinetic has rotated up, but realistically that's just to sort of relieve a little bit of pressure. Kinetic also taking her first tower means that she's able to rotate, and that alleviates that Scarf matchup for me, especially pre-8. And I appreciate the kind of rotations from my team here because it does help me farm a little bit better in this laning phase, keeps me a little bit safer when the Lorelei decides to roam, and you can see here I'm just farming much better in general. I'm going to give the CP buffs over to Koshka for the most part. I don't really need them pre-level 8, and it helps her gain a lot of experience. You can see Koshka really, really far ahead at this point in time, and doing a lot of damage. So I'm quite happy to donate the buffs over to Koshka as much as I can, because that makes her pretty strong, and she's one of those early game heroes that can snowball really easily. So I'm just all about scaling. I'm kind of not interested in getting much advantage over Scarf in the laning phase, because that range really puts pressure on me. And you can see I almost died out there to the Scarf. We actually turn things around really nicely here with a really well-timed double stun. And I run in and get the Heliogenesis down onto the Scarf. So actually, even though I made a mistake by bringing up the scoreboard accidentally, a really, really nice double stun from myself and Binny on the Lorelei here meant that we were able to turn that around. And even more satisfying is the fact that we are able to push this into turret and deny Scarf much, much more farm. And you can see the Finn only just manages to escape, and because we see Taka go into his B, we decide to back off. Koshka actually goes pretty aggressive and forces him back, and ends up dying for it. But irrespective of that, we have denied a decent amount of farm away from the Scarf, and now we're going to go for the first item that I'm working towards, which is Spellfire. Spellfire is still a really solid first item, especially once you get level 8. It's a really good harass tool. Just landing on Heliogenesis can put a lot of damage down onto someone over the course of an extended fight. And then I'm going to work towards my second item, which is going to be Halcyon Charges for the energy regeneration and the cooldown reduction, which is really important to Celeste in general. Actually, Celeste can function really nicely off just one cooldown reduction item. You don't actually need a Clockwork in her build these days. It's something that I've been testing, and actually Clockwork isn't so warranted in the build for Celeste, because Halcyon Charges do enough for you along with an infusion to get you towards the cooldown reduction cap. So overall, you can actually go for some more damaging items, which can actually help make you more impactful with those Heliogenesis. Second item that you're going to see me go for is actually going to be a Dragon's Eye or Eve of Harvest. There are two decisions that you make here. If you need to sustain damage and you need to keep yourself sustained in fights more than anything, and you are lacking in terms of energy regeneration, the Eve of Harvest is a good item to consider. Beyond that, you want to have a Dragon's Eye in your build as much as physically possible, because it helps you scale up in team fights. So the quicker that you get a Dragon's Eye for a mage, the better it's going to be overall. So those are the two items that you can consider second. Now, I have the bits and pieces for an Eve of Harvest, but I'm likely going to go Dragon's Eye second in this game, because I haven't been threatened too much outside the laning phase. And now that I've hit level 8, I can now contest Scarf a little bit more readily with my extended range on the Heliogenesis. It also makes me more impactful in team fights, so I'm going to be much more likely to want to roam at this point in time, because I can be much more impactful when it comes to these team fight situations. Even though Celeste's range overall has been nerfed over the last couple of updates, she still has a very strong range on her Heliogenesis, and despite the fact that it is lower than it was previously, it is still really powerful, and post level 8 Celeste can be a real nuisance. And that is still one of the things that makes her really strong, her spam ability, and the fact that she controls zones really nicely by putting those Heliogenesis down. So we are getting to the stage in the game where Celeste has reached a power point. Level 8, first item completed, very close to having her second item completed, including those Halcyon charges, which really makes the spammability of your heliogenesis much more efficient. You can see we're actually versus Taka. Taka was always classically considered a counter into Celeste because he was able to dodge her stun with his chitin. The best way to deal with that is just wait until he's used the chitin to use your stun where you can. Especially if he uses the chitin on yourself, you can always place the stun behind you and he'll dodge right into it. So he's not as big of a counter as you might think, especially if you're just able to hold that stun and wait for him to use his chitin. Because a lot of attackers will use their chitin as soon as they use their X Retsu on you, which means that you have a really easy way to stun them, and then you can kite backwards and get a huge amount of damage down. And as well as the fact, if you have an Eve of Harvest in your build, it means you're going to be able to sustain off the stun. You'll sustain off using that supernova from the heliogenesis. So you might wonder why I didn't actually go over to Ghostwing here. Now the reason I didn't go to Ghostwing is I was low on energy anyway. I was also pretty low on HP, so I actually just wanted to. They didn't actually seem like they had an idea that we were doing Ghostwing, and so therefore I was more interested in just distracting them in the mid lane. You saw that we got a really nice little outplay on Taka there. He just overextended a little bit too far. I managed to time my stun nicely, and we managed to get the kill. But yeah, the reason that we didn't go over to the Ghostwing is because we didn't want to give away the fact that we were actually doing it. And it looked like they didn't have any vision there, so why actually send everyone over when I'm low on energy anyway? I would not have functioned very well in a team fight. The best thing for me was to sit in lane and clear the waves and distract the Scarf and the Finn so that my team could get Ghostwing for free. If they had immediately moved over to Ghostwing as soon as they saw my team doing it, then I would have to react a different way. But they didn't actually seem to know that it was going on, which was the best thing for me. So as you can see, the Rhyme lost his tower to the Gwen, and that means Gwen is now going to be rotating as much as physically possible. The really important part of the game at this point, especially when you've still got that mid lane turret up, is just maintaining vision control around the center of the map. I got a really nice kill onto Scarf there, just simply because I was able to run up, stun him, get a supernova into an ultimate, and that's something that you can do versus the squishier targets. Just run up, find a stun on them, and then just look to get a really big full frontal ultimate onto them, and that was a really easy kill for me. And not only did that set up a good team fight for us, it allowed us to take this mid lane turret, which has accelerated the game much more so than we had before, because we really didn't have a huge advantage before. The kills were moderately even across the board. Yes, we took Ghostwing, which is a pretty significant neutral objective, but they had taken a turret in the top lane, and they were pressuring mid lane quite a lot. That small little play onto the Scarf opened up this mid lane for us, and it's going to allow us to rotate more freely between all of the lanes. And not only that, it got me enough gold to pick up my Dragon's Eye, which makes me a super powerful mage at this stage in the game. I've got Dragon's Eye, Spellfire, and Halcyon charges. I've got the cooldown reduction, the energy regeneration, the scaling damage on Spellfire with the scaling damage on the Dragon's Eye. It's just a really good place to be. You can see here I'm not afraid to use my boots to get into a fight, simply because at this point in the game I'm really strong. And also the Halcyon charges regenerate the movement speed buff really quickly, so you can use it to be aggressive. That's the beauty of having Halcyon charges. You can maneuver the map much more quickly and much more readily, and you can use it to be aggressive without having to save your boots to be defensive in a team fight. So in that situation, I was able to boots in, turn a team fight around really nicely, and that's allowed us to go straight for Blacklaw. And my team were really on it. I really like what they did. They immediately saw the opportunity, taking the enemy kills near Blacklaw to actually pick up that dragon, and this is going to allow us to now push and put pressure on the base. I probably should have made a different choice in items here. I actually should have gone for an infusion. The infusion would have allowed me to probably be strong enough to end the game at this point, but because I chose to go for the crystal bit and energy battery, they didn't really give me a massive buff to my overall damage position, and actually it probably was the wrong choice in items. So if you're in that position yourself, I would have gone for the infusion instead. So my team's doing something really good here. We're actually splitting focus. This is something that can work really well in solo queue. Often doesn't work as well in competitive, but we're using Blacklaw as a distraction in the mid lane, and my team, who have got heavy pressure with the minion wave in the top lane, are pressuring the top lane turret. Now we're just going to stay here with my range and siege this turret in the mid lane, using Blacklaw to the best of our advantages, and that allows us to get 2 sets of turrets for free. Now, I make a little bit of mistake here. I take shots from the Vein Crystal, and I think I see an opportunity to run in and start getting kills. Unfortunately, I practically miss every single ability that I've got, and that just results in the Vein Crystal finishing me off. Probably could have played that a bit better. I think there was a lot of opportunity for me to actually do much more with that team fight, and probably even potentially win the game. However, I didn't, and I died. Maybe the infusion would have helped out there. I go back and get a heavy prism, though, which is a decent boost to my overall damage. And now we're in a situation where we've got Ghost Wing to take. We have 2 open lanes to go towards the Vein Crystal, and a single team fight probably wins the game for us. So we've managed to accelerate from a pretty poor early laning phase. We played a very sensible mid game, and we rotated really well as a team. We kept our pressure up in the mid lane. We got a couple of solo kills and Scarf, which opened up that mid lane for my team. My Koshka has been just like popping off. Like I actually think Koshka is a really solid pick on this current update. I've seen people play her weapon power as well, which not sure. I know it's kind of semi-viable, but I'm not sure it's like the best thing in the world. But regardless, Koshka has been really good, and I see another opportunity here to go in on the Scarf because he's low, he's in my range, he's not respecting me, and again, just a very easy 1-2 with that ultimate, with that stun and a heliogenesis. It's such an easy kill. If you can just run in and get the stun and surprise them, especially if they don't have a reflex block, and like I said, in 5v5, people often forget about the importance of reflex blocks, and actually picking up that Scarf kill has meant that my team's able to just push in towards the top side of the map, and this should be us able to end the game at this point. Really easy kill on Scarf that has just opened up the rest of the map for us. We did a lot of work beforehand, and you'll see here, this is what I mean about Taka. Wait for him to use his chitin, then use your stun. And that actually kept me alive. I think we would have won even if I died, but irrespective of that, it was a really good end of the game. We were very quick to push towards victory. I actually back out here because I didn't think that we were going to win. I am a heathen and a non-believer. And my team gets a pentakill on the Koshka. As you can see, I went crazy on the screen with that. And we end up getting the victory. But pentakill for Pacifisto on his Koshka. Koshka's really strong right now. So I'm going to use this time to have a little talk about the builds. I'll talk about the builds for everyone. This is a pretty standard build on Rhyme. The Eve of Harvest into Spellfire with Journey Boots, and then goes for some defense. Boff goes a little bit more aggressive than most Rhymes would. He looks like he's working towards a Clockwork for the cooldown reduction. Journey Boots are better than Halcyon Chargers on Rhyme because you want the movement speed up as often as possible. So that's why you go for some extra cooldown reduction outside of that, and that's why Clockwork is pretty useful for Rhyme in this instance. You've got my build path, which was Spellfire into Dragon's Eye. Some people do Spellfire, Halcyon Chargers, Eve of Harvest. I went Spellfire, Halcyon Chargers, Dragon's Eye, just to be a little bit more snowbally. I was going for Eve of Harvest as a 3rd item. I would have gone for Broken Myth as a 4th item. No, it is a 5th item. I can't count. And then either would have assessed whether I need defense, or I could have gone for more offense if I wanted to. The kinetic build that you see, the Serpent's Mask into Breaking Point, is just a variation on the Sorrow Blade, Poison Shiv, Bonesaw. Serpent's Mask, Breaking Point, Bonesaw is pretty much the similar thing, with the lifesteal coming from the Serpent's Mask instead of the Poison Shiv. The build on Le Pacifisto, I can't really comment on it too much because I don't play as much Koshka as he does, but it's a super heavy damage build with the ability to sustain in team fights with the Eve of Harvest. It's very aggressive, could be pretty easily shut down by the likes of Finn if he's not careful, but as it said, he was able to snowball with it. It's a very snowball heavy build, so I think it worked the way it did. And yeah, I won't talk too much about the enemies builds. I don't really like the Taka build that much. The Scarf build was following the same path as me. The Gwen build was going for the Breaking Point instead of the Bonesaw, which is fine because they're not really facing much armor, so that's absolutely okay, and is a perfectly fine build. The Halcyon Charges is to be able to make the energy regeneration happen so you can get your B and your A up more often as well. Right, that was this game, and again, the giveaway is at the start of the video, and you can check the links in the description below. I'll be mentioning it across multiple videos a week to make sure everybody gets their chance to enter. But thanks very much, guys. I'll see you soon.